yourself. What's your name?
My first name is Antonello, and then I also picked a Muslim name, which is Abdul Rahim.
Abdurrahim. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your life?
Okay, of course. So as you can tell by my name, I was born and raised in Italy. And as most Italians, I was raised as a Catholic. The level of practicing of Catholicism was a bit fluctuated quite a lot over the years, depending on my age, on the years, my circumstances. And I moved to London about 15 years ago to pursue a career in technology, and kind of like grew. I grew professionally, but I also got lost in the crazy lifestyle of London, the dunya of London.
When did you convert to Islam?
I reverted in June this year.
Why Islam? Why did you choose Islam?
Why I chose Islam? So let me tell you a story. It's a bit of a long one. If you have the time, let's
Take your time.
Okay, so you probably heard a lot of companies, a lot of technology companies were in trouble last year. Google, Facebook, Twitter, they started to send home a lot of employees, a lot of redundancies. My company was also affected, and I lost my job. So this was towards the end of last year, in November. And my friend said to me, "Oh, you've got so much experience, you are going to find a job straight away. In a matter of days, you're going to find a new job." So days passed, weeks passed, months passed, and I didn't find a job. Now, in hindsight, I know that someone wanted me to take a break, pause, and think about something different, how to change my life. Now, a lot of people, when they lose their jobs and they've got a lot of time in their hands, very often they get into bad habits, right? A lot of people start doing bad things because if you've got a lot of time, you can't just be possibly looking for a job all day long, right? So if you've got a lot of time in your hands, you might do bad stuff. Instead, I started reading, and I started reading about Islam. So don't ask me why. I didn't have any Muslim friends at the time. I didn't really. I've got neighbors who are Muslim. I live in a Muslim area of East London, but apart from that, I didn't really have any connection with Islam. Instead, I started reading about Islam. I started reading about books that compare Christianism and Islam. And this went on for a couple of months. So I was actually reading these books. I was borrowing books from the library. I was buying a book off Amazon, a book every week, a new book. And I got to the point that I was in some kind of information overload. I said to myself, okay, enough with all these facts. I think I need to go to the essence. I think I need to go to the core of things. So, the Quran. So I first read one surah in Italian because I thought it's my native language. It's going to be easier for me to understand, right? So I read, there was Surah Nas, and I remember thinking, oh, this is really beautiful. But let me listen to the Quran, because I know that the Quran obviously is in Arabic. So I went on websites and I started listening to it. Something really clicked. Something really, I could feel some kind of connection inside when I listened to it. And so there was this kind of weird period when I was still praying and reading my Christian prayers in the morning, but also listening to the Quran.
So you were practicing Christianity as well?
That's correct. That was, not a heavy practicing, but like I was still praying my Christian prayers, but also listening to the Quran. And this went on for a couple of months. And I remember in those months, I completely lost the taste for alcohol and for cigarettes. So for no reason.
Just right after you start listening to
exactly. I was listening to the Quran, reading about Islam, and the idea of drinking actually really put me off. Even just the idea was really for no reason. And then I decided not to tell my friends.
Hamza,
the Quran. So I didn't tell anything because to I anybody. thought, my friends are going to talk me out. And then I realized that my friends are going to tell me that I'm crazy, that out I'm of reading Quran, I had that I'm listening to my ears. They were saying, I didn't tell anything to anybody. You need to stop this Islam. And then I realized that I was the one talking myself out in religion, I had this constant whispering in my ears. You should be practicing Christianity. You should read your Christian prayers. It's nonsense for you. You're a Christian. If you're really interested in religion, you should be practicing Christianity. You should read your Christian prayers, and you should look for a job. Not spending time reading about Islam. Not wasting time. Go look for a job. Pray Christian prayers if you want, and that's it. Right? That was me. But when I had these doubts, I was feeling really down because this whispering was constant. At the same time, I felt I needed to listen to the Quran. I needed to read about Islam. But these voices in my head were really bad. And what I still cannot explain how, every time I had this type of doubt in my head, I would get a sign. Some kind of sign that would tell me you are on the right path. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share a few signs with you. Can I share a few signs? Because we call them coincidences, and you can tell me if you think they are coincidences, right? So, as I said, I had quite a lot of time. So I was reading. I used to go for walks. One day I was walking near where I live in East London, and I remember walking and stepping on something soft. And I'd been watching videos of people, obviously, they were reverting to Islam, or they were Muslim. And I remember watching videos of people that they took Shahada, they bear witnesses and became a Muslim. And I remember seeing videos of people wearing a white thobe and wearing a white tupi.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I knew what that was, right? So I remember stepping while I was walking on something soft, and I picked it up. This piece of fabric, then I looked it up, and it was actually a white tupi. And I said, wow, I know exactly what this is because I saw it in the video. But I said, oh, this is just a coincidence. There's thousands of Muslims around me in East London. I'm sure somebody dropped it, right? But this is why when I was thinking Islam is you shouldn't be thinking about Islam, I stepped into one of these. But
Just
after
to
this,
remind you of Islam.
just to remind me, exactly. But what happened is that every time I had a sign, I convinced myself there was just a coincidence. So in this case, I say, oh, just a coincidence. This is just a coincidence. Islam is still nonsense for you. You should focus on finding a job, reading about Christianity. And let me tell you the sign then. So a few weeks later, again, I left in the morning for a morning walk, and I was feeling really down. I was feeling really down because I thought, I can't continue like this. I'm reading about Islam, thinking about Islam. Islam is not for me. I know Islam is not for me. Islam is not for me. Islam is the wrong for me. I'm wasting time thinking about that. So now I remember walking in my lane where I lived towards the park, and there was a bench, and I could see something on the bench. Well, I could see something. It was a bit of a distance. And normally in East London, we're probably everywhere in benches, you would find, empty cans of drinks.
That's why you find
Chicken bones, boxes of chicken bones, like rubbish, right? Yes. The closer I got to the bench, I could actually see there was a book. And I remember telling myself, I told myself, if the book is anything related to Islam, I'll take it as a sign, right? So I walked closer to the bench. I picked up the book, and I've got the book here. I want to show you. So this is the book.
the Quran.
It's an English translation, but it's actually an English translation of the Quran. Worn out, it was all wet from the rain, like holes, but it was actually a Holy Quran. Believe it or not, I said to myself, oh, this is still a coincidence. Inside, I was shaking. Inside, I knew this wasn't a coincidence. Inside, I was scared. I knew this cannot be a coincidence. I've never seen a book ever in any benches, in any parks, let alone a copy of the Quran. So inside, I was shaking, but I still convinced myself that it must have been a coincidence or something. Then I think that someone had enough of me wasting time with all these doubts. And a few weeks later, actually, I was with a group of Muslims. Actually, they were not friends. Actually, I met them through volunteering, and some of them had met them just the same evening, like a couple of hours before. And I remember this brother talking to me, and he said to me, "Brother, you look quite upset. Well, why are you so upset?" And I remember feeling very upset because obviously they were Muslim and I could feel something inside. And I said, brother, I'm upset because there's something inside of me, but I don't know how to say it. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to express how I feel it.
Was that in the mosque or?
This was not in the mosque. This was absolutely, this was not in the mosque at all. They were Muslim, but this was not a private place. So I remember the brother saying to me, brother, I know exactly what words you need to say. And the words that he said, repeat after me. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammad abdullah rasul. So, and I took shahada and I submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that moment. And I felt like, you know, when you feel like you've got a burden on your shoulder, like my heavy rucksack, right? If I took it off, that's how I felt. I felt like suddenly so light.
You are very clean, like you just born now.
Well, it wasn't that easy. Okay, let me tell you another story then. Okay, so I felt like extremely light and extremely happy in that second. But then I felt like the opposite. I felt like almost constantly targeted. The whispering that was even worse than before I converted. So the whispering now was so bad because the whispering was telling me constantly, oh, you're still in time to change your mind. You're still in time. You can't pray. So don't you even try, because the moment I took my shahada, I started praying. I say, I'm a Muslim now. I need to pray 5 times a day. And I started using YouTube to learn how to pray. So I was watching YouTube, tried to pray. I couldn't even, be on sujood. I couldn't even be on my knees. I was hurting everywhere. And the whispering was saying, okay, you don't know Arabic, you don't know the prayers, you don't even know how to kneel down, you don't even know the movement. You need to stop. You're still in time. You need to give up this nonsense. I didn't give up, brother. I didn't give up. So I persevered. I kept praying. Yeah, with YouTube, reading the prayers. I finally learned the prayer. I learned the prayers. So the more I persevered, the more confident I felt, and the more confident I felt with the prayers, the happier I felt.
واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة.
And then I started feeling so happy and happier and happier, and now I feel so blessed, and I'm even so blessed that I'm sharing this story with you, brother, because
I'm so blessed to have you and you inspired me a lot.
Well, I can tell you that the week I took shahada, I also found a job. 8 months after I was jobless for 8 months. My friend said, oh, you're going to find a job in a week. It took me 8 months. The week I took shahada, I found a job.
The same week you found
The same week I took a shahada, I found a job. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
As a new Muslim, what challenges did you face?
I guess for me was, because obviously I didn't know how to pray, I had to use YouTube. But for me, it was more, I had to think about prayers. So sometimes I felt I'm thinking more on how to pray than the actual prayers. So there were moments that I felt like, oh, I'm learning movements, I'm learning words, I'm not actually praying. And then you realize that that is also praying. You realize that learning those things is actually a form of praying. So now I know that Allah was actually happy with me learning. So me going through the pain, the physical pain, I bruised on my foot. I didn't know how to sit. So I bruised on my foot because I wasn't doing it properly. I know that the physical pain, the stress that I was going through trying to learn Arabic, or not Arabic, but the prayers in Arabic, was part of the challenge, the part of the test.
How many surahs did you learn so far?
I learned 4 so far.
In Arabic?
In Arabic. I learned 4
And you know the meaning of it and everything. Amazing. Can you read for me Surah Al-Fatiha?
Can. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Iqtina sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina namta alayhim. غير مغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Thank you very much for sharing your story with me, and thank you very much for being here. May Allah guide us, and